School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 017 Advanced Strategic Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 1 Introduction to Corporate Management. Unit 1 Corporate Management and Overview.
Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to explain the nature and scope of corporate management, describe the concept, nature, process, benefits, and prerequisites of corporate planning, appreciate the importance of implementation and evaluation aspects of corporate plan, compare distinct approaches to corporate management, assess the role of various strategists in corporate management, identify factors leading to the need of corporate management, and state the differences in corporate management practices adopted by non-business organizations. Introduction. Though corporate planning has been widely used in the United States and some other European countries for the last 35 years or so, there seems to be scant use of the term corporate management. Corporate management is a broad phenomena and covers a wide spectrum of activities. In the context of strategic management, the term has three dimensions: corporate planning, implementation of corporate plans, evaluation and control of corporate plans. On the academic side, research on corporate management has not taken off in India. However, a few studies may be seen with respect to corporate planning. Nature and scope of corporate management. For the sake of convenience, the concept of corporate management has moved through 5 paradigms shifted as narrated adhocisms. When the exigency used to force the managers to take appropriate action to deal with situation. This continued till 1930. Planned policy. The Great Depression forced the planners and thinkers to have a planned policy. Unforeseen incidents and contingencies are to be anticipated. Environment strategy interface. The strategy has to cope with environment. The forces of internal and external environment have created uncertainties. In order to cope with such situation, appropriate strategies are being formulated keeping in mind the competitive advantage. Corporate planning involves moving ahead from environmental appraisal to strategic alternatives and choice. The planning needs to be strategic. Corporate management. Aspects of implementation and control are also considered in corporate planning process. It is a unified and integrated process to get best results. Nature of corporate management. The following aspects are important in this regard. It encompasses the entire management process. It is concerned with the choice of alternatives, determination of future course of action, mobilization of resources, and deployment of resources for attainment of goals. It is both short-term and long-term. It is related to all levels of management. Strategic issues, however, are related to top management. It includes the following phrases: corporate planning, implementation issues in corporate plan, evaluation and control. It is concerned with coping uncertain future with active intervention. It is based on various types of plans: strategic plan, functional plan, operating plan, organizational plan, etc. It is all pervasive and integrative. Scope of corporate management. The term corporate management is an extension of the term corporate planning and also includes implementation and control aspects. More specifically, the scope of corporate management is narrated as below, spread over different areas. They are as follows: role of top management in corporate governance, code of conduct including audit committee, governance committee, etc. Competitive scenario for domestic and global markets, competitive scenario for dynamic and global markets, market structures and network externalities, strategic enablers like IT, R&D, knowledge management and innovations, etc. Corporate social responsibility including ethics, value and social audit. Philanthropy as a strategic choice. Now let us learn what is corporate planning. Corporate planning is a comprehensive planning process which involves continued formulation of objectives and the guidance of affairs towards their attainment. It is undertaken by top management for the company as a whole on a continuous basis. Drucker defines corporate planning as a continuous process of making entrepreneurial decisions systematically and with the best possible knowledge of their futurity, organizing systematically the efforts needed to carry out these decisions, and measuring the results against expectations through organized systematic feedback. This definition clearly emphasizes the relation of corporate planning to strategy. According to Hussey, corporate long-range planning is not a technique. It is a complete way of running a business. Corporate planning is a way of keeping the company's eyes open. The following are the essentials of corporate planning. Corporate planning deals with the future of current decisions. The process of corporate planning integrates strategic planning with short-term operational plans. A few authorities use comprehensive corporate planning, strategic planning, long-range planning, formal planning, corporate planning, etc. as synonymous to each other. Corporate planning is viewed as an organizational process resulting in developing strategic intent and action plans to achieve the objectives. The object of corporate planning is to identify new areas of investment and marketing. The purpose of corporate planning process is to formulate the organization's purpose, mission, objectives, goals, policies, programs, strategies, and major action plans to achieve its objectives. The corporate planning process involves the following steps: formulation of strategic intent, environmental appraisal, generation of strategic alternatives, evaluation of alternatives, decisions in terms of strategy, policies, and programs. There are many advantages of corporate planning. The following are the benefits of corporate planning. It ensures a rational allocation of resources and improves coordination between various units or divisions. With corporate planning, significant improvement in performance is reflected. In US, the percentage improved in performance was 30 to 40%. A formal planning system can help the management in responding to a dynamic environment and in managing a strategically complex organization with limited resources. With corporate planning, a sense of making a systematic and critical review of business is developed. This develops a visionary approach. A habit of forward thinking is encouraged in forward planning. In India, the organization's corporate planning process could not succeed. The following can be the reason attributed to the failure of corporate planning in Indian organizations: failure to keep the corporate planning system simple, failure to develop awareness about corporate planning process in the organization, corporate planning tries to do all planning itself, chief executives gives planner a low status, failure to modify the corporate planning system with the charging conditions in the company, planner has only a part-time interest in planning, there is conflict between available soft database and manager's need for hard answers, top management becomes so engrossed in current problems that it spends insufficient time on the corporate planning process. Bhattacharya and Chakravarti have observed some commonalities in instances of successful introduction of corporate planning in Indian companies. A few prerequisites for success in corporate planning are as follows. The chief executive must be totally committed and involved in the corporate planning process. Participation of those executives who would be responsible for implementation must be ensured. The process of corporate planning should be introduced on continuous basis to cope with ever-changing environmental factors. The executives must understand that the real purpose of corporate planning is to provide direction to the organization. Implementation of corporate plan. Implementation refers to those objectives which are necessary for achieving the plans already formulated. Quite often, companies having good corporate plans are not successful at marketplace. The Planning Commission in India has formulated elaborate plans for poverty alleviation through a number of programs, but it is a well-known fact that the achievements in terms of the original goals are far from the targets. It is to be noted that the implementation of strategy is mainly an administrative task based on strategic as well as operational decision making. This activity primarily refers to action and doing. The task of strategy formulation is somewhat distinct. It is primarily an entrepreneurial activity, and this managerial task requires analysis and thinking. Implementation of corporate strategy requires the analysis of the following aspects: project implementation, procedural implementation, resource allocation, structural implementation, behavioral implementation, functional implementation. Any organization which is planning to implement strategies must be aware of the procedural framework within which the plans, programs, and projects have to be approved by government agencies. The regulatory mechanisms for trade, commerce, and industry in India span the whole range of legal structure from the Constitution of India, the directive principles of state policy, to the rules and procedures imposed by the implementing authorities at the local level. The requirements of licensing SEB, MRTP, foreign collaboration, labor laws, environmental protection laws, etc. are to be seen carefully. The resource allocation for budget be based on either of the following methods: strategic budgeting, zero-based budgeting, PLC-based budgeting, BCG budgeting. The total responsibilities to implement strategies, which is structural implementation, have to be subdivided as follows. Defining the major tasks required to implement a strategy. Grouping tasks on the basis of common skill requirements. Subdivision of responsibility and delegation of authority to perform tasks. Coordination of divided responsibility. Design and administration of the information system. Design and administration of the control and appraisal system. Design and administration of the motivation and development system. Design and administration of the planning system. The first four mechanisms will lead to the creation of the structure. The remaining mechanisms are devised to hold and sustain the structure. The aspects of strategy implementation that have an impact on the behavior of strategies in implementing the chosen strategies are related to behavioral implementation. In this regard, the following issues are important: leadership, corporate culture, corporate politics and use of power, personal values and business ethics, social responsibility. Rather than letting strategy implementation suffer due to politics and power games within organizations, strategists have to learn to use them to implement strategies. Functional implementation is carried out through functional plan and policies in 5 different functional areas. Operational implementation is performed in 4 areas for operational effectiveness. The areas are productivity, process, people, and pace. The productivity is the measure of the relative amount of input needed to secure a given amount of output. Pace is the speed of operational implementation and is measured in terms of time. Efficiency is the parameter often used to express the pace of operational implementation. Review and evaluation of corporate plan. Corporate planning cannot said to be effective unless management monitor how well the planned actions are matching actual achievements as implementation programs. If they find that the actual performance does not conform to the planned performance, corrective action is taken to enforce a strategy that is not being followed or modify corporate plan that is not working. Strategic evaluation operates at two levels: strategic level, operational level. The idea of strategic control is of a relatively recent origin and its techniques are still in an embryonic stage. Four types of strategic controls are premise, implementation, strategic surveillance, and special alert control. Operational control consists of setting standards, measuring performance, analyzing variance, and taking corrective actions. MBO, network technologies, balanced scorecard, key factor rating, benchmarking, value chain analysis, systems modeling, responsibility control centers, etc., are the techniques of strategic evaluation and control. The following aspects differentiate strategic control with operational control. First, strategic control is related to external environment, while operational control is related to internal organization. Second, strategic control has longest time horizon. Third, control is exercised exclusively by top management in strategic control. Fourth, budget schedules and MBO are used in operational control. Approaches to corporate management. Corporate management systems vary from organization to organization depending on a variety of factors: environmental conditions, organizational size and complexity, age, top management values, and styles. Variations in the corporate management systems across organizations may be found first in the top management's basic approach to carry on corporate planning. These approaches are as follows. Top-down approach. In this approach, the top management decides everything and the implementation is being taken care of by the middle and lower level management as instructed by top management. Bottom-up approach. This approach takes into account the realities and complexities of operations at the ground level. The top management adopts an open door approach. Suggestions are invited from all levels. Hybrid approach. This is a combination of top-down and bottom-up approaches which is generally used in decentralized companies. There is vertical communication between top management and the strategic business units SBUs at different phases of the corporate planning and implementation process. Team approach, where lateral communication between the top managers is easier. The chief executive may himself, in collaboration with senior managers, prepare corporate plans. Now comes strategists and their role in corporate management. Strategists are individuals or groups who are primarily involved in the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of strategy. There are persons outside the organization who are also involved in various aspects of corporate management. In this section, we shall assess their role in corporate management. Board of Directors. The role of Board of Directors has come under intense scrutiny in recent times, leading to the emergence of the issue of corporate governance. It relates to the functioning of the board of company and the conducting of the business internally and externally. The composition of board of directors in some of the organizations is narrated below. State Bank of India, 7 whole-time directors, 4 part-time directors, 6 nominee directors. Larsen and Toubro Limited, 6 whole-time directors, 11 part-time directors. Tisco, 2 nominee directors, 2 whole-time directors, 9 part-time directors. Reliance Industries Limited, 5 whole-time directors, 4 part-time directors, 2 Nominee directors. The Companies Act 1956 specified the following: 1/3 of directors will retire by rotation. A public limited company must have at least 3 directors, and a private limited company must have at least 2 directors. Only individuals and not the institutions can be appointed as directors. The role of the board is to guide the senior management in setting and accomplishing objectives, reviewing and evaluating organizational performance, and appointing senior executives. Now, who is Chief Executive Officer? Chief Executive Officer. The CEO is designated as the Managing Director, Executive Director, President, or General Manager in business organization. As the Chief Strategist, the CEO plays a major role in strategic decision making with the increase in size. Many companies have adopted the practice of sharing the responsibility of chief executive among 2 or more persons. In India, Reliance Industries has chairman, vice chairman, and managing directors, while L&T has managing director and joint managing directors. ITC Limited has a multiple executive system in the form of corporate management committee. Attributes like self-management and time management are very important for CEOs. Entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs always search for change, respond to it, and explicit it as an opportunity. The entrepreneur is a venture capitalist. They play a proactive role in strategic management. As initiators, they provide a sense of direction to all concerned. S. Kumar Sundaram as the chairman of the Bank of Madurai Limited, and after his death in 1986, the new chairman S. V. Shanmugavadi Velu provide an excellent example of the role of entrepreneurs as strategists. SBU level executives. In corporate management, SBU level strategy formulation and implementation are the primary responsibilities of the SBU level executives. They act as divisional heads. They yield considerable authority within the SBU while maintaining coordination with other SBU heads in corporate level management. Consultants. They assist the organizations in their corporate management process. Smaller organizations may take the benefit of consultants for improving their corporate governance. A.F. Ferguson, S.B. Billimoria, McKinsey Company, Anderson Consulting, etc. are the notable consultants. Boston Consulting helps in building competitive advantage, while KPMG Pete Merrick assists in strategic financial management and feasibility studies. Needs for corporate management. The following factors have forced the strategists to look into issues of corporate management. First, scarcity of resources. Second, fast technological changes. Third, changing human values. Fourth, multiplicity of stakeholders. Fifth, growing competition. Sixth, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. 7. Growing scale of business operations. 8. Faster and quicker modes of transportation and communication. 9. Professionalization in management. Corporate management in non-business organization. The basic objective of non-business organizations is to provide service to the people who come in contact with these organizations. Unlike the business organizations, which are characterized by profit motive, risk bearing, and creation of utilities, non-business organizations provide service to the clients. Measurement of the effectiveness of these services is highly qualitative and therefore judgmental. The following are the specific areas where corporate management issues are to be taken with greater care. First, non-business organizations are not interested in attracting large number of clients. Such organizations do not go for rigorous environmental analysis. Second, non-business organizations have larger number of interest groups. In this environment, the corporate management process becomes more political. The decision outcomes may not be as service oriented as is usually conceived. Third, non business organizations seldom go through the rigor of strategic management process. They get their resource from the public. They operate on the basis of non focused strategic actions. Fourth, the performance evaluation criteria in case of non business organizations is highly qualitative and therefore judgmental. Summary. Corporate management is a broad phenomena and covers the activities of corporate planning, implementation of corporate plans, evaluation and control of corporate plans. The concept of corporate management has moved through the stages of adhocism, planned policy, environment strategy, interface, and corporate planning. Corporate management has the following broad characteristics: encompassing entire management process, short term as well as long term, all pervasive, integrative, and relates to all levels of management, concerned with coping uncertain future with active intervention. Corporate planning is a way of keeping the company's eyes open. It is a comprehensive planning process which involves continued formulation of objectives and the guidance of affairs towards their attainment. This process is continuous and is carried on by top management. The process involves the following steps: formulation of strategic intent, environmental appraisal, generation of strategic alternatives, evaluation of alternatives, decision in terms of corporate plan. In India, corporate planning could not bring desired results. Factors like poor participation, complicated process, part-time interest, domination of routine issues bring bottlenecks to effectiveness in corporate planning process. Implementation refers to those activities which are necessary for achieving the plans already formulated. This administrative task is based on action and decision making. The issues like project, procedure, structure, resource allocation, behavior, and managerial functions needs special attention. Review and evaluation of corporate plan operates at two levels, that is, strategic control and operational control. Budgets, schedules, and MBO are used in operational control. Four types of strategic control are premise, implementation, strategic surveillance, and special alert control. Variations in the corporate management systems may be top-down approach, bottom-up approach, hybrid approach, and team approach. Board of directors, chief executive officers, entrepreneurs, SPU level executives, and consultants play an important role in corporate management process. Scarcities of resources, fast technological changes, LPG, changing human values, etc., are forcing the strategists to push the case of effective corporate management. Non-business organizations have to adopt a distinct corporate management process to cope up with the changes in the emerging environment.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 016 International Business Management. Course Coordinator Professor G. Subayama. Voiceover by Chitra. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.